JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. October 25th, about 3:30 on this fine Friday. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Talk really quick about the market, some of the names I'm looking at, go from there. First, take a look at the S&P, all the way up to that 584 and change handle. Looked like we were going to recoup the weekly losses and actually close in the green or possibly flat and continue the weekly winning streak. Instead, markets hit the highs at about 10:30 and then just a slow melt picked up into the afternoon, hit lows at the 578 handle at 2 o'clock, and then we're kind of chopping around here. So maybe we get a close near 580. As long as we hold above 578, I think that's somewhat constructive. Ironically, no, I wouldn't say ironically, but sure enough, what happened to the VIX? It was over 20. We're sitting here at 1995 right now, so still elevated. I mean, there's a lot of catalysts in the next 2 weeks: the election, the Fed meeting. You have trillions of dollars of market cap reporting earnings. I started going over the list yesterday and earlier this morning, and it's just, I mean, even if you take out the five of the Magnificent Seven, it's still a lot of possible market moving names. I mean, AMD reports too. So considering what happened with ASML and TSM, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be poured over, right? But 585, 578 look like clear, defined support resistance so far in the SPY. So hopefully we can, continue to chop here and then find some direction. I hope it's not to the downside, but as always, I'll have a plan for possibly getting some hedge puts if that happens starting next week. Uh, and then also the yields, and the yields are finally down just a hair, half percent, I guess. So trending in the right direction, or is that just a pull before the next leg? Hopefully not. And then the small caps, disappointing. Down, the IWM's down about 0.25%, pretty much erasing yesterday's gains. One of these days, 50-day moving average 217.50. Hopefully, we won't have to worry about that coming into next week. So that's that. So individual names, and so VKTX, just another resumption of upside today. I was saying it yesterday. I mean, you watch it long enough, you can kind of see when it's like different, right? So it felt different yesterday's rally when we start to move up after the earnings. A lot of times we see these gaps and runs and then fades, and there wasn't much of that, and it just seemed like there was this constant buying, huge. The call volume, clearly it was like multiples of volume compared to the put side. So just yeah, just remarkable. So I got those. I was looking. I wanted to encompass the obesity week, and so it starts on Sunday. So a lot of people are coming out with the papers, whatever you call those. Uh, they'll be coming out on Sunday. I don't know who else is going to be coming, but the main one's going to be VKTX. So uh, I wanted to get some strikes ahead of that, but I thought maybe the earnings, some of the premium would come out, and of course missed that. So then my thought was get the November 1st for next week, give me some time, and then take some of those profits and roll those up to those November 15th. So thankfully was able to do that. Put on the watch list. I was going to hold the rest of my my November 1st 85s into next week, pending any crazy opportunity to close more out for a couple 100%. And sure enough, the rally, I was able to close some more out for 400%. I'll just hold the rest. And then the Novembers, I was actually looking at the 115s. They were like dollar 10. The 110s. Then I was looking at the 120s. I think those were 60 cents or so at the open. But then I was just looking at, and the risk reward, it's like if I'm going to hold it into the event, um, whether if it's great data and it's going to go over $100. So it's not going to matter if you have the 110s, 120s. They'll probably be bigger multi-baggers, right? So less risk. I didn't get as big a position. I only get 2 contracts, 3 or 5 of the 110s as opposed to getting multiples more on those 130s. So that's kind of the thought process there. The other thing is it could run up into the event next week. So even if it continues to have legs next week, it gets up to 85, 90. Those 130s will be a double, triple, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the thought process there. Thankfully, after staring at this since mid-May, after its big pop up to over $100, finally starting to move. Really like it for continuation into next week. So, and a good sign here, it's holding its ground. I mean, I would love to see it go over 80, and we still have time, 27 minutes. All right, so hopefully I have enough air left in my lungs to talk about TZOO. I just put out a little tweet, and I first put it in the chat room. I'm going to do a quick post, but I was spending some time listening to some of the earnings calls, and they're kind of boring, right? So if you listen to it, and the CEO is not a very articulate in terms of his accent, I guess you would say. So it's sometimes hard to hear. And in this day and age, I'm used to having the TV and you can put on closed captions so I can get the actual words that the person's saying, and maybe I could find a way to do that. I didn't have it translate, whatever. So some of it's hard to hear some of his answers and responses to analysts, but pretty much the gist and the what I got out of it is number one, he thinks the company's under the stock price is undervalued. They're going to continue stock purchases, right? That was number one. Number two, they're rolling out this membership program in 2025, and they already rolled it out, but it's going to be all the folks who have signed up pre 2024, which is a lot of people. That I put at the end of my little due diligence tweet. TravelZoo is the OG. Yes, the original, right? The original, however you want to call it, not Yelp. I'm trying to think of all those different little sites that Groupon, right? It's the original one, the Groupons, all those different sites that is pretty much an aggregator for companies to get people to either get unused hotel rooms or things like that. So um, it's a great business. So because it's been around so long, they have no debt now, right? They're generating plenty of free cash flow relative to their business because it does $84 million in revenues. It's churning off 3, 4, 5 million every quarter, right? So you do the math. That's $20 million in free cash flow on a company that does 80 million in revenues, and it's $180 million market cap. So it's inexpensive relative to that. Like if you took that out and said it's not $180 million, it's a $1.8 billion company, and you just multiply all the different fundamentals of the business, you say, wow, that's a great business, right? But because it's a micro, it's a small cap company, it's a little more people look at it and say, oh, and also the business, right? I mean, it's not a business that's not with a lot of competition. Of course, a lot of competition, but the fact that it's existed just means it's going to continue to exist. And now they have a possible tailwind. So they're going to take the 31 million plus members that they have and subscribers and monetize that via a subscription model. So how it looks, and the CEO said it really good too. And again, these are some things you listen to the call, and a lot of it wasn't, some of the earnings, but I pretty much said that you'll be able to see the offers, which if you sign up for travels, and all the companies I ever do research on, I sign up for them. I was talking about all the names that have been acquired over the years and what have you. SodaStream, Open Table, I was talking about the other day. But yeah, I've been a TravelZoo member for, gosh, I don't know, however many years, 15 years. So you get emails, top 20 offers, and they have crazy offers, $7.99 to Africa on a safari and all these different deals. And some of it's deals with the partners who have underbooked or whatever. So what they're going to do is before I'd click on it, I'd be able to get that offer. You just pay the ticket, the $7.99 price, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now you're not going to be able to get that offer unless you're a member. It's a $40 price, which is not bad relative to the savings that you might get. So not only that, once you're the member, it's almost you have a vested interest of using their platform to do more travel offers because you're a member, right? And he talked about being able to possibly get more benefits. Maybe you get upgrades on airplanes or travel or whatever. He didn't say that per se, but he did talk about there's going to be some updates and they're going to announce those soon. So not saying this is the next booking.com or Expedia or TripAdvisor. I was big bull on TripAdvisor too, and that was an original, right? That was an OG, and that didn't pan out most times. So I'm not going to sit here and say this is 100% going to pan out, but I did the math. You do the math. It's very simple, and I mean it's too simple, right? If they're just able to convert 3% of their existing member base from the freemium to premium model, that will bring in 1 million premium subscribers, and it's $40 for the entire year annual. So $40 annual revenue growth, right? I mean, then they do $84 million in revenue. So boom, 50% revenue growth, which is insane, right? Just for monetizing their subscribers better. And hopefully they're able to offer a better value proposition than outside just, hey, you pay $40 now instead of not paying $40. So anyway, we'll see what happens. At some point I look to get some more strikes here. The other funny thing, so I talked about all the buybacks, and so I'll get the little thing on here. And if you saw my tweet, I'll put it in the chat room again, and I posted it in the chat room first. But just some quick basics, and I'll try and get it all on paper. But they've bought back like 4.3 million shares over the last since 2022. I think they had 15 million outstanding, and some of that has to do with dilution. And then there was an insider who wanted to sell some to that effect. But and they also had an off the book buyback where they bought 200,000 shares back from, I think, the CEO instead of him selling on the open market. Anyway, but they have no debt, generating substantial free cash flow. Just announced another 1 million share buyback program. So one quarter, they announced a 1 million share buyback program, and they completed it in the first month. And then they did another one. So they've taken their outstanding share count from 14.8 million to 12.3 million. So you start doing evaluations and things. I mean, right away they're increasing EPS, their valuation, all that fun stuff. So needless to say, they go into 2025, even if they monetize, even if they're able to convert 0.5% of their existing base, right? Maybe 150,000 members convert at $40, right? I mean, that's $6 million in revenue. That's nearly, what is that? 7, 8%. Just that in itself will have growth, and it's high margin growth. So rants for other days. Really like this one. I'm gonna at some point. I talk about the shares. So they bought back 1 million shares one quarter. Actually, it was within a month. The average volume for the stock in September was 3 million. Let's see, I have the number here because the stock traded 3,035,895 shares in September, right? And they're buying back 1 million shares. So you're like, by themselves they can move the stock. So not going to sit here and do too much of a rant. Maybe I'll do a quick due diligence, better in detail post. But anyway, that's if you hear me post and talk about it, that's why I'm kind of bullish on that name. All right, so also added some more SE calls. I mean, just broke under 100 while I'm talking. Great stuff here, but uh, you look at the Asian markets. I mean, China hasn't really had any good weekends and into the start of the week in a long time. One of these Mondays, we're going to wake up and it's going to be another 3-4% up day. SE looks ready to break out anyway. Tight Bollinger Bands. It's been like 3 or 4 days that it's been bumping up against that upper Bollinger Band. Once that breaks, it's going to be 105, 110 in a flash. It's going to be 2-3 session 15% run. So that's why I got the SE calls. Win, disappointing. I mean, it's in green, right? I mean, green is good. Uh, my bull goggles are on. It still looks like a bull flag here. They're going to announce their earnings date. Maybe it happens. What is that? Maybe they announce it after the close today or Monday, and it's probably gonna be like Wednesday. I was possibly looking for some strikes on that 99 break, but I wanted to wait for 100. Didn't happen, so I sat on my hands, continue to hold my November 5th 115s. That's Win. And then Roku. Roku, it looks like Wedbush, one of my favorite analysts. If you don't know, I think it's Michael Pachter, right? So he covered Netflix from the get go, and he used to interact with me on Twitter. He still does. If I tweet him, he knows who I am. But did he raise his price target to 90 something, right? It's just tough. I'll probably wait over the weekend. Roku's had some moves. I'll have to get some historicals as I post all the data for earnings this coming week. But I know like 1 out of every 8 to 9 earnings reports for Roku has had some massive moves that turn out of the money, calls and puts into serious multi-baggers. So I'm not going to add anything today. Just probably want to wait to the weekend. I've made a mistake getting some Roku calls and who was Dell calls on a Friday, and they just didn't pan out the following week. So I'll probably just sit on my hands and wait till Monday. And I think that's it. VIX is at 2012 right here. At least yields are going down. Hopefully that reverses. And that's it, folks. Have a great afternoon, great weekend. I'll be back. Rock and roll.